Healing your self-image. How do you view yourself? Welcome to episode 47.
Welcome to the show.
Well, welcome to the show. My name is Will Sinclair, and you're listening to The Real Truth About You. This is the show where we help you to discover the true and amazing you that's from the inside out, that you can live a life of inner peace, inner joy, inner strength, and all the things you've always wanted that are locked up inside of you. Well, I feel a little bit like Catholic going to confession, like, bless me, Father, it's been 3 weeks. Well, it's... if you're following my podcast consistently, it's been 3 weeks since I've podcasted last time. I had a little bit of health issues for the first couple of weeks, and then the last week I just got too lazy. Let's be honest about it. All right, so today we have my beautiful wife, Edrina, in the studio. Hi, Edrina.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, it's always great to have Edrina here. And today we're going to be talking about a journey towards who you are and a journey towards your self-image, right? Edrina's been on this journey, and she's on the show today to talk about, she's lost at this point in time, and probably about since September, she's lost about 52 pounds. What's that? You can say what it is.
57.
She's got her hands up with her fingers. I don't know what she's saying. Okay, but yeah, she's lost 57 pounds, and that's just awesome. That's since when? September, and this is now March.
About this time September, during about September 10th.
Right. And you tried weight loss things before and stuff, and this is not a show about weight loss per se, right? Or that you need to lose weight or anything like that. But this is a story about Edrina's journey, and because she hit a turning point in her life, and she's going to share that with you. And it really helped her in her own self-image. And it helped her in her weight loss journey also, because she was just ready to start losing weight. Not that she was overweight, were you? No, you weren't. You were just beautiful the way you were, weren't
Thank you. Thank you, honey. Yes.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, I'm starting to do more of the cooking now. And since I've started doing more of the cooking, I've also lost a lot of weight too. So anyway, if you want to share some of your journey that brought you to this point where you've lost this weight and you feel good about it, and it's not a diet that you're on something else completely.
Well, before I start about my actual weight loss journey, I'd like to maybe share just a little bit about the healing process that happened inside of me over the last, well, of course, it's probably been going on many years, but I would say more intensely in the last 3 years since we've been out, 4 years, I guess, since we've been out at Kenosi Lake. A place of quiet, a place where you can find God in everything. Mm-hmm. And
This is a place out in the wilderness. In case you haven't been following the podcast, we run a boys and girls camp, and it has like a kids camp, and it has a retreat center on it, and we live right in the bush on the edge of a lake, so we look out the forest.
Right, we do.
It's nice.
Anyway, over the last maybe I'll just start from the very beginning. When I was younger, I was always very small. I was always very I was fit. I had 4 children, and even after I had my fourth child, I was able to get back down to my regular weight of about 135 pounds, 140 pounds, probably at the very most, after I had Nicole. And but it was shortly after that I started to gain more weight. And it was a little bit, and it was gradual and gradual and gradual. So she was born in 1993, and I would say I don't know. I don't even know how many years later I started to gain this weight. And by last year, which was September of 2016, I was up over 250 pounds. And
what weight were you when we got married?
I was 130 when I got married.
That was 30 years ago.
Right. So having that weight on me was never something that was really, that I was comfortable with. It was never something that I was used to. Not that anybody is ever used to being overweight, but I was always a small person growing up. And so over the years, I developed defense mechanisms and not just defense mechanisms, but what do I want to say? Ways of coping with the weight that I had gained and trying to find and keep my self-esteem up during that time when I really didn't feel very good about myself. And I never ever felt unloved by William, by you. You didn't care what weight I was. I never ever felt that. I never felt from my family or my kids. Mostly I felt it from myself. I just started to begin to hate who I was. I would avoid certain reunions with school friends. I would avoid seeing somebody. If somebody saw me from a distance that hadn't seen me, since I got married or since I was smaller, I would maybe duck into the other lane, other aisle, so I wouldn't have to see them, just because I was embarrassed that they would look at me and say, "Oh my gosh, has she ever gained so much weight since I saw her last?" It was just and it was not a reflection of how they saw me. It was a reflection of how I saw myself. And that took a while for me to understand, because I always thought people would think that. And regardless of what they thought, it wouldn't really matter. I just didn't like myself. So when we came out here, I started a journey of moving inward. And how to explain that would be that I started to find, first of all, I started a meditation group, which was key. It was huge for me, because during those meditations and during the teachings that went with the meditations, I was learning that God was not a God that was out there, that was judging me, that his love depended on whether I did the right thing, or whether I ate too much, or whether I didn't eat too much, or whether I exercised, or whether I didn't exercise. I learned that the God who loved me regardless of what I did or who I was, or whether I did the right things or whether I did the wrong things. And coming to that place in my life where I felt peace with me has taken me probably that 4 years to come to that awareness.
So do you think it was the weight that actually made you feel bad, or was it inside? Did you not like, I think you mentioned something about not liking yourself?
Right. Oh, there were that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I think that having the weight on added to the fact that I had to learn to like who I was. I had to realize that the me that God created me to be was perfect. It was a likable me. It was a good thing. I have a very strong personality. I've got.
No kidding, really? Didn't notice that.
We talked, I think, in another podcast about me being sweet, and I am
as in not sweet.
As in not sweet. I'm a fairly forward person, but realizing that all that God has given me has been a blessing, and that I would not be where I am today. We would not be where we are in our marriage. My kids would not be who they are if it wasn't for the personality and the person that God has made me, and to find the strengths and find the goodness in every single part of who I am. And that's such a huge undertaking almost, but it was like a healing in my life to be able to come to that place where I can say, I really not just love me, because anybody can say, "Oh, I love myself," but to really like who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a big thing, but wow, what a feeling of peace and freedom.
I think too, you got to a point in your life where it was not about the weight loss was not about your body image, right? Maybe a little bit as a woman, but it was a lot to do with health too, right?
Right, yeah, it did.
Weight on your knees and all that kind of stuff, right? And you actually got to a point before you actually, I guess, went on this journey of weight loss, right? Part of your self-image got to a point where there was a reunion out here.
Right.
There was going to be a big family gathering out here, and there were all your friends from school. It was a family that you knew really, really super well.
Right.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I will tell you about that. Last August, and a family that my own personal family had grown up with, they were coming out to the camp that we run. They had rented it for about 5 days. And they were coming out to gather their whole entire family. And this family, we were very, very close to. And I hadn't seen a lot of them for many, many, many years. And, a few of them were my age, some were older. But they were a very, very close family. And I was really nervous for them to come out because they hadn't seen me for a long time. And I was my weight was at its highest it's ever been. And I was I had begun that journey inward where I was really, really working on and learning to love who I was. But this was the clincher. This was the one that I was just, can I face this family? Will they accept me for who I am? It was just an absolutely huge, I can't really even say exactly what it was that I went through, but I do recall at one point, it was about 2 days before they got here, and I was sitting on the couch, and I told William that I was having a real hard time with this, and I started to cry. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I don't even know how long I cried, but this
was a really emotional thing for you.
It was very, very emotional for me, and I really didn't know if I was going to be able to do this. So we got to the time where they were coming, and it was the very first day, and 3 of the girls, I mean, they're all grown women now our age, and they came walking up to where my house was, and I went out and gave them all a big hug, and we sat, and probably for about 2 hours, we just sat and visited and caught up and had such a good time. And as the days went on, I went over there and I spent a fair bit of time with the whole family. And I got to a point during the weekend where it was like, I realized, actually it was after they had left, that I realized that I was who I was, regardless of the shell that I lived in. I am who I am. Nothing changed my visit with them except for my outward appearance. So who I was no different than who I was back when I knew them before. That I'm that same Edrina, that same personality, the same, fun, laughing,
sweet girl
that I always was. And it really, really hit me that it was just my shell and had nothing to do with who I was. It had nothing to do with how God saw me, how much God loved me, and for me to realize that it really had nothing to do with how much I liked me. That had nothing. I didn't like me, and it had to do with my outward appearance because I made it that. But really, it was coming to an awareness that I am who I am, and I really like who I am, and
I like who you are too.
Thank you. But and knowing and knowing that the shell that my soul and who I am lived in was really just a shell. Whether it was a 250-pound shell or whether it was a 130-pound shell, it had nothing to do with who I was. I am still me regardless. And it was after that where it was, and I can't really explain the emotions that went on with it. It was just, it was like a huge awareness that came over me. And for some reason, I don't know, I know it's just God's grace poured into me. And I was ready to do this. And as I was ready to do this, I have a girlfriend who has been friends with since grade 7. She's a health coach, and over the years, I've seen her stay healthy and work at, her eating habits and everything that, all those things that she's done in her life. And I pushed it off to the side. And this time I was ready to embrace everything that she had to share. And when I did that, it just, everything just started to kind of roll from there. And by the first 3 or 4 months, I just dropped. The weight just basically fell off of me. And I can honestly say that it was the program that I was on, and it was also the healing that had gone on beforehand that allowed my mind, my body, mind, and spirit, which is all connected as one with God, that through all of that, it was like my body just relaxed. My body was ready to just go back into, I feel like it's going back into the person that I was before.
So it's like once you got the inside right, so to speak, right? And once you got the inside right, the outside start taking care of itself.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it was, is that the outside will take care of itself when the inside is right.
Even though you have to have a little bit of discipline.
I do have to have discipline, yes. You don't lose 100 pounds without a little bit of discipline, and support.
But I think it helps too when you're ready. I think it was like when I quit smoking 25 years ago. I tried a few times, remember? Yeah. And once I even went for 9 months, but I just couldn't get rid of that. I just so wanted a cigarette so bad. And it's because I hadn't taken care of the inside yet. Yeah. And I think getting to that point where you take care of the inside, and I'm not saying I was at the same level of awareness then as I am now, but there was something that clicked.
Yeah, but you were at a point where you could do that.
Yeah, and it's like you get there when you get there.
Yeah.
And you're ready when you're ready.
Absolutely.
And not to beat yourself up if you're not ready, right? Or you're not losing weight, or you're not doing the things that you want to do,
My thing is that is not so much that, okay, all of you need to go out and lose a bunch of weight. That's not why I want to share this story.
Oh, thank you.
I want to share this story for everybody for you to be aware that your outside is just your shell. It's just the outside of who you are deep down, your soul. The soul that God created when you were a tiny infant is the you that you are, and it has nothing to do with what's on the outside, whether you're tall or thin or short or whatever you are, or whether you can walk, whether you can't walk, whatever it is. It is just the outside of who you truly are. And to come to that awareness of realizing that there's no God up there judging you. There's no God up there pointing fingers and conditionally loving you if you're doing the right or the wrong things, is just to be aware that you are loved because you are a creation of God.
What a beautiful thing. And it's also like, sometimes we tend to say, oh, if you're fat, there's something wrong with you, right? And that's not what it is at all, because you could be struggling and pushing yourself to be as thin as you can and not eating, but you still don't have the inside right, and you're still doing something dysfunctional that's not good for your body.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
It's learning to love yourself, right?
Right. And love yourself and like who you are. Because I think there's a difference between saying that you love yourself and really saying, I like who I am. And to come to that point and that awareness of being able to say, I like who I am.
Yeah.
And when I actually just, this is March 13th. And
2017.
Of 2017. And in January, I started to go onto a bit of a plateau. And I've gone about 6 weeks where I haven't really lost. I gained a pound here and lost it, and then gained a pound again, and then lost it. And for about 6 weeks there, I went on this physical plateau where I wasn't really losing inches, I wasn't losing any weight, and I started to get discouraged. And of course, my health coach Cheryl, who is amazing, and the Simple Swap group that I'm on, everybody was so encouraging. Regardless if they even knew I was on my plateau, but Cheryl did. Anyway, in that 6 weeks, I also had to go back and say, if I stayed this weight for the rest of my life, I love who I am. I like who I am. God loves me. God is still has that same place in me, regardless of if I do not reach the goal that I actually wanted to reach. And that was another little blip I had to get over. And I guess not really a blip, but it was more of a, what do you call it when you...
Hurdle?
No, not a hurdle, but it was an awareness, I guess, to step back and say, it's okay. It's not about the weight. It's not about the inches. It's not about the body. It's about who I am in Christ. And that came back to my awareness. I was able to kind of refocus, get back on, and get going again. And it's funny because the weight started coming off again. So,
and you don't have to be a Christian or a believer in God, but we're talking about loving yourself for who you are. And I think I always, as a guy, I always had a trouble like loving yourself. What is loving yourself? Do I have to look in the mirror and go, I love you. Yes, I do. Oh, you're such a nice guy. Right. And that's not what it's about. I found it's like a journey of acceptance. Like when you can accept who you are and just say, okay, this is me. Right? Or this is my weight, or this is how I look. This is my nose. This is my, and you begin the process of accepting yourself, which eventually comes to the point of feeling love for yourself, right? Feeling acceptance for yourself, feeling confident in yourself or content with yourself, or how would you describe it? You already described some of it.
Yeah.
It's a concept I always found difficult, the loving yourself part, right?
It is a difficult concept. It is a difficult concept. And the thing is, many of you have probably heard so many times, you need to learn to love yourself. You need to learn to love yourself. You can't learn to love yourself. It is definitely just a journey. To me, it's a journey inward. And whether you believe in God or whether you don't believe in God, there's still that being inside of you that needs to be loved, that needs to be nourished, whether it's the little girl or the little boy that needs that hug, or where it's that person inside of you. There's so many hurts and brokenness that has happened over our lives, whether we're, been whatever it is. Everybody has their own story to tell, but none of us have escaped life without having brokenness, without having some kind of a hurts that we've had to endure, whether they're deep rooted, whether they're not deep rooted, whatever it is, that when you go in and when you learn to love yourself, you're really loving and nourishing that, and that little person in there, the inner self that is broken. And yeah, I don't even think I can say anything. We build up
walls. We do things to protect ourselves. We say, well, when we were kids and your parent did something and you thought, well, if that's what love is, I want nothing to do with it. And you build up a wall against it, or I'm not going to let somebody do this to me, or I'm not going to do this. And we build that over time. And from that, we develop our self-image, which is not necessarily a correct self-image.
It's not a true image. No, I don't think any of us have a true image of who we are until we realize, till that inner person can be healed and loved and accepted.
So tell me about this Simple Swaps program, because I know you would like it because you talked about you don't have to count calories, you don't have to do a whole bunch of things you would do in a diet plan, because it's not a diet, right?
Right. No, it's a lifestyle change. A little bit about it. Well, I would say it is probably the easiest thing I've ever had to do to lose weight, although I was ready to do it. But it's just swapping out the foods that I was eating before for better, more nourishing, nutritional foods. So the first thing I did was I started with my carbs. And that was the biggest thing, well, I shouldn't say that. The first thing I did was I swapped my white salt, white sugar, white flour. And when you swap those things, you're swapping
For what?
So my table salt went, and I replaced it with sea salt or Himalayan pink salt. My white flour went, and I'll the odd time use a what do you call it? A whole organic whole wheat flour, but switched mostly to like a coconut flour, rice flour, those kind of things. But rice also went, white sugar, which is everybody. I don't think anybody can deny that white sugar is not good for you, because white sugar is found in everything that you shouldn't eat.
Chocolate bars don't have sugar in them, right?
They do not have white sugar, no. So when you take those first things, and then of course my rice and a few of those kinds of things swap for quinoa or brown or wild rice. So those were kind of the first things. Then I just started adding good things, changed my oils, changed my those kinds of things, changed some of the spices I was using that weren't high in sodium, and it just kind of snowballed from there, and until I've got my whole kitchen. Well, our whole kitchen is completely different than what it was 8 months ago.
Lots of vegetables and stuff in our kitchen now instead of hot dogs, and lots of chicken and
not that we ate many hot dogs, but definitely hot dogs.
I love hot dogs.
I hate hot dogs, but the macaroni and spaghetti and all those kinds of things. But there's just so many, and the thing is, there's always a swap for everything. There's so many swaps. So I can eat a muffin, but I can have a muffin that has the right ingredients that is not going to
you make a pumpkin,
be harsh.
What's it called?
It was just a pumpkin walnut muffin.
Right.
That's high in protein, high in fiber, low in fat, but it's not even low in fat as much as it's got coconut oil and instead of a vegetable oil or margarine or whatever it has in it. So lots of eggs.
Eggs. Love eggs. Well, and I know from cooking for you, because you're working out of the house right now, and I've lost a lot of weight too in the process.
Yeah, without even realizing it.
Without even realizing it, and I would still have my toast and stuff in the morning where you had your shake and that kind of thing. So, and I lost a lot of weight. So you found, with your health coach, you actually found support there too, right? It wasn't just the food; it was the coaching and the community.
Right. Yeah. Well, we have a Facebook page, which is really good because we communicate on there all the time. I've actually gotten lots of new friends from it, and I hope someday to meet some of them. Actually, one of them stopped me at Costco and said, "Hi, you're Edrina, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm so and so." She said, I'm on your Simple Facebook Swaps group, and I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, famous. But anyway, and Cheryl is amazing. She has been by my side through the whole entire thing. She's a text or a phone call or an email away from me only. And anytime I have a question, what if I can't eat this, what can I have instead? The recipes have been coming very regularly, new things that we can try, and just her support, just, when she says, like when I went to my plateau, and she just encouraged me through the whole thing, gave me suggestions of what I could do to break it, and some of those things without starving myself, because I have no intentions of not eating. Like, I am not going to not eat to lose weight. That's not how I roll. I'll eat good, healthy foods, but I'm not going to starve myself just to break a plateau. And that was never her intention, and that was never her suggestion. But she had so many good suggestions, and she's just been so supportive through the whole thing.
Right. And we don't make any money from this, but I really want to promote Cheryl because she does an awesome job. She has her own story. Her son had leukemia as a child, and he's now a doctor. Actually, he's an oncologist. But they had so many health challenges, and she has quite a few kids, and she had a lot of health. They had a lot of health challenges, some of them, and so she went through a lot of healthy alternatives rather than going the traditional routes. She went through a lot of healthy alternatives and discovered a lot of things along the way. And now this is quite a number of years later. And so she is now coaching others, and her name is Cheryl Jean-Baptiste. And you don't have to remember the last name because you'll never be able to spell it, because I know I can't. But you can go to, and like I said, we don't make any money from this. We just love her to pieces. She's absolutely awesome. And if you want to go check her out, you can go to her website, and it's Health Coach Cheryl. So Health Coach, and Cheryl is spelled CHERYL.com. So healthcoachcheryl.com. And you can also look her up on Facebook. She's got a Health Coach Cheryl Facebook page that's free for anybody to go to and get advice and things. And once you do some coaching with her, and she's just phenomenal, because Edrina talked about her staying in touch with you all the time, because when you're making something, you might want to, say, oh, can I use this? And then she'll respond fairly quickly, right? Mm-hmm. If you text her or whatever. But anyway, she's like that with everybody. So she's very accessible right now. And so you can get on with her. If you get on with her program, where she can coach you one-on-one and take you through all your needs and evaluate what you want, you'll end up on her Simple Swaps Facebook page, which is a closed book and closed group, and you'll be able to find people who are just swapping like great recipes and things, and great community and good advice. So if you want to go check her out, healthcoachcheryl.com. Well, if you got any last words you want to say there, Edrina?
I don't have any. Maybe I do have just last words. Just my final thing to say is to love who you are, and don't try to love who you are. Don't learn to love who you are, but start that journey today to just go inward, stop for 5 minutes, and just look at yourself and realize that you are lovable, you are likable, and you're on your way to healing and good health.
Well, that's awesome. Great advice. Love yourself. And, take that journey. You can go to therealtruthaboutyou.com, and you can download, I'll put Cheryl's link up there on episode 47. And you can go to therealtruthaboutyou.com and get more resources and access more of these episodes of this podcast if you like this podcast. If you do like it, go to iTunes if you're on Apple or whatever, and like us or whatever it is, subscribe, and share this podcast with everybody. And know one thing big, that you are absolutely loved. You are loved. You are loved. You are loved. And remember, you rock. And so this is Will Sinclair and Edrina Sinclair saying bye for now. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Real Truth About You.